So there's been a lot of itemization changes to League of Legends lately. If you play AD carry, you probably noticed. The reason for this being is that you're no longer an AD carry player, you're now a get one shot by an Aurelia carry the other team player. Infinity Edge was changed to the point that I think every Yasuo player in Bronze has absolutely no idea what to do anymore. What is that, like Infinity Crit? Last Whisper? Get that right in the fucking bin, lads! Agility Cloak in the bin, Hail of Blades got put into the game as a keystone, and yeehaw! Nobody even uses the damn thing. Banner of Command got a 3-point field dunk right into the bin like it was insulting your mother. Is that how sports works? And I know that this sounds like a complaint, but I mean, before all these changes, I was a bit of an AD carry main on my Smurf. Now I'm a random main. Best champion in the game, definitely my favourite. I love that champion, he's so strong. Every game is like playing a game of roulette, except nobody wins. Except the team that actually wins, I guess. My point is, the game is a shit show right now, but it's like a shit show in the best way possible. I don't know though, once you've played maybe like 100 games in a row with Janna being either picked or banned 100% of the time, and if she gets through, then another Ardent Sensor support just takes her place, and then nothing happens bot, you kind of long for the chaos that we've had in our hands for the last month or so. And I mean, Banner of Command was undoubtedly a boring item to play against. Sure, I made many of my builds with it in the core and basically existed to make the enemy suffer, but still, its removal, I mean, it's kind of sad because it's been in the game for such a long time, and it's sad that Riot couldn't balance it out to the point where it wasn't ridiculously unfun to play against, but you know, until the day that they can balance it, it might be better off just kinda being right in the fucking bit. But all this said, there is an item that has gone totally forgotten. From basically the second it was created to this moment right here. An item that nobody asks about because nobody actually cares about it. And if they were asked about it, Riot Games would probably act like one of those tourists who clearly does speak English, but they just pretend they don't speak English because they don't want to speak to you. And this is an item that I made a video on. But that was like a year ago, and it's really interesting to me that a year has gone and passed and this item has not been given a home or an identity or even thrown into the bin like every other item around it. It is just here, and nobody seems to even remember that it's a thing to actually bring up in a board meeting to be like, yeah, we could literally just remove this item without even putting it that we removed it in the patch notes, and quite literally nobody would even realize. This item is infamous for being so underused, not having been touched by the patch notes in like 3 years, and also ironically being higher on the search results list than the person it was named after. I'm of course talking about the Ohm Wrecker. The Ohm Wrecker is an item that literally disables a turret for 3 seconds. Alongside this, it offers some stats in terms of cooldown, some health, and some armor. And you can check for yourself. If you go onto like the LoL wiki page for this item, you take a scroll down to see the patch notes history, and apart from like a 50 gold difference and one change that actually didn't change the cost of it, this item has not been touched in like 3 years easily. Probably over 3 years at this point. So why? I mean, disabling turrets, this is a good thing. That's a cool item. That's an interesting, unique item. Why does nobody use it? I mean, considering the fact that the game is in such a weird shit show that the tank meta has kind of fallen out a little bit, and people are just playing bruisers and champions that might actually succumb to the damage of a tower now, not just Rammus and Malphite and Ornn. Oh god, Ornn every game. Oh, for God's sake. And I think the reason for its failure is it comes down to a couple of factors. The first thing is this item is a little bit bizarre in the fact that there isn't really a specific role that could or should build it. Now I know it's an item that gives you cooldown reduction, it gives you armor, health, and base health regen, but in terms of like your bot lanes, your supports, if they're gonna actually go for any items that support their team rather than just going for Rabadon's Death Cap first item, they'll probably want to go for something that's a little bit more reliable in terms of the usage of the item. They're gonna want to go for maybe like a Knight's Vow or a Redemption, an item that they can use on their terms rather than a very situational item that, you know, back in the day, you definitely don't want an Ohm Wrecker in your inventory to give your AD carry any suggestion that tower diving might be an option, because that is always 9 times out of 10 a very terrible idea. So you just get rid of it. You don't want that. Top laners, yeah, they're tanky, but have a look at the items that this item builds out of. You've got yourself a Raptor's Cloak, or the piece of hair is what I like to call it. Raptor's Cloak can build into a ZZ Rot Portal, an item that is far more situationally useful for top lane, helps depush the lane, helps put pressure on top lane. If you're building a ZZ Rock Portal top lane, the likelihood is that you're kind of not the best at clearing waves and stuff like that, so the chances are you're not even really going to be tower diving too hard, and if you are, you're probably playing something that's tanky enough to dive and tank a few tower hits anyway, because honestly 3 seconds really isn't that long in terms of actually mitigating tower damage. As well as that, we've got the Kindle Gem, and I don't think I need to tell you that if you're building a Kindle Gem, the Ownwrecker's not very high on your list of priorities of what you want to build that into. You got Spirit's Visage, you got yourself Warmogs, Black Cleaver, you got Knight's Vow, Shurilia's Reverie even, Hextech, Proto Belt, all of these items built out of Kindle Gem, and each and every one of them is far better, far more useful, and reliable than the Ownwrecker that you may or may not forget to use when you actually choose to tower dive with the damn thing. I mean, honestly, this item costs 2,650 gold. For only 150 gold on top of that, you could have yourself a Spirit's Visage. And doesn't that sound a whole lot better? I mean, if you just add like an extra, what, 50 gold on top of that, you could have yourself a Warmogs. 3 seconds of a tower not hitting you, or a bajillion more stats to add to your arsenal. It's kind of not even really a question when you think about it. It just makes no sense. It doesn't really give you all that much health. It doesn't give you all that much armor compared to other items that it can build out of, some of which are actually cheaper than this item. I think, like, Riot made this item a kind of, oh, anybody can build this item. We're gonna make it a little bit rounded, but in making it like a rounded item that anybody in pretty much any role could build, they ended up making it so that it wasn't worth building for anyone. Like, a jungler is not really gonna tend to lean towards that in terms of what they're gonna build, even if you're playing Rammus or a champion that will actually tend to tower dive. They usually have active mitigation they can use themselves, or top laners tend to be very tanky as well. Supports, there's far better items. You'd rather have a redemption on your team to heal the tower damage than stop the tower damage for the 3 seconds it's going to be hitting out for. It's just not good enough. But the sad thing is, there is so much potential in this item to be something so much more interesting. 3 seconds, as I say, isn't really a long amount of time. It's, in terms of like fighting, having a team fight under a tower, it's basically nothing. Like, that tower is going to be up, and it's going to be slapping people before you like really realize it. So unless, especially in solo queue, even if you are all incredibly coordinated, you dive at the exact moment it's about to go down, you mitigate every single shot you possibly can, it's going to be up and it's going to be clapping people, and it might not necessarily be your tank that it's on. So it's a little bit risky to be using in solo queue, especially considering the lack of coordination that you guys are going to have. As well as this, it doesn't really make for like a backdooring item either. You can't just like disable the tower and fly onto it and start slapping it down, because it's still got like that massive amount of hyper armor that you get when your minions aren't near an enemy tower. So what if the item maybe, and I don't know how game breaking this would be, but what if this item disabled every buff the tower has on it? So it could be that when you activate this, and also if you could up it to like 4 or 5 seconds to make it a little bit more useful, that would be fantastic. But if it was disabled, and then you could hit it and it wouldn't have any hyper armor and you could do full damage to it, would that open things up to be very interesting in terms of, you know, having to have a lot more map awareness and a lot more wards in case teams start rushing 5-man towers? Now, in saying that, I understand the implications of how broken that would be if you just went for a full backdooring team, like a Rammus, a Master Yi, a Heimerdinger, all these champions that can either tank tower or bring towers down really quickly. But it's just a suggestion, because the item's there. It might as well be doing something. But for like 3 years, it's sat and done about 10% of jack shit. It's done nothing. And it's just, the items, I feel like the items need to change. Like, you gotta make this a more appealing item to buy, because nobody is wasting a Kindle Gem or a Raptor's Cloak on a goddamn Ownwrecker. Like, even if it was like a different support item, even if it was like kind of worked into some kind of support item and that was its active, instead of dropping wards it disables a tower, that's incredibly interesting, and especially considering the current meta, it'd actually be pretty fitting for the bruisery, kill lane, bot kind of stuff going on. As I say though, you know, these are all suggestions that would possibly be very cheesy and very, very difficult to deal with, so I'm not fully sure if it would work. And honestly, I'd like to know your opinion, because this item is just, nobody buys it. Like, you can check for yourself on the champion.gg or whatever. Lowest pick rate item in the game, and it has been that way for a very, very long time. And I've picked it a couple times up, but it's just been for the meme, to be honest. But let me know what you think down in the comments section, because honestly, I mean, we're not game developers, we're not game designers, but I'm sure somebody's probably got a good suggestion for it. I've given my ideas, but damn, Omewrecker, he's got no quality of life right now. This boy is just in the corner. He's just scared of whether or not Big Daddy Right is going to come down with the backhand on him or not. Put him out of his misery. Either put him down, put him out to pasture, or like, give him something. Makes no sense. Anyway, boys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, and if you're going to build an Omewrecker in your next game, please click the like button. If you did enjoy as well, and you're new to the channel, please feel free to join the sock drawer, click that subscribe button. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Take care.